Om Sai Ram. Let us understand chapter number 17, the narration of the knowledge of Brahman. But before that, let us do the Namasmaran, followed by chapter number 17, and then we will conclude chapter number 17 with the Aarti. Shri Satchidananda Satguru Sainath Maharaj ki jai. ॐ श्री साई नाथाय नमः 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 ॐ श्री साई नाथाय नमः. Om Sai Ram. Chapter number 17. The narration of the knowledge of the Brahman. I bow to Shri Ganesh. I bow down to Shri Saraswati. I bow down to the Guru. I bow down to the family deity. I bow down to Shri Sita Ramachandra. And I bow down to Shri Sadguru Sainath. In the last chapter, I had mentioned that this chapter will be described the qualities of permanent good, Shreya, and pleasant, Praya. Listen to it with respect. As, as light and darkness are interrelated to each other, still they are separate from each other. The good and the pleasant are similar. One whose mind runs after the pleasant, he deteriorates because of selfishness. The good is restraint, and the pleasant is that which is without restraint. The good deals with pure knowledge only, and the is false knowledge. Wise men are never attracted towards the pleasant, but the good is disliked by the ignorant. Till such time that wealth and women are available, the senses indulge in pleasures and no thought is given to self denial or non attachment. The pleasant is welcome. The good and the pleasant are intermixed like water and milk, but the swans of Manas Lake drink only the milk. Similarly, those steadfast by nature, wise, self controlled, and fortunate ones only hanker for the good and shun the pleasant. But look at those dullards who are keen about caring for their body, cattle, children, wealth, status, and well being. They acquire the pleasant only, whether be it good or the pleasant. Even if both are understood in the right way, it is difficult to bring the good into practice, even for a person who is independent in his thinking. However, if both are available, it is difficult to select. And if ignorance wins over discrimination, then the pleasant comes and embraces one. In setting aside the pleasant and accepting the good is the real spiritual endeavor, just as the swan separates the milk from the mixture of milk and water. The good and the pleasant are both attained by a person, but those dullards without self control are incapable of discrimination. Initially, one should definitely be able to understand wherein lies the good. Afterwards, if there are obstacles on the way, one should be able to avoid them entirely. At this point, the human efforts to attain the four well known goals of life in and make their claims. But one must fight for the sake of the good and make intense efforts. Inconceivable are the whirlpools of mundane existence which rotate incessantly 24 hours of the day. Man suffers the harsh miseries of the threefold tribulations. Because of them, whirlpools of mundane existence, extreme miseries befall, and man is harassed or tormented. Then he tries to discover easy means of pleasure and to avoid them. The whirlpool of mundane existence is unbearable. How can it be stopped? Yeah, could there be any means to do so? He starts thinking thus. With the good luck, when these thoughts are born, motivate the goals of life. Then, for the sake of his own good, he follows the right path. False knowledge or illusion are existing from the very beginning. They are like the futile illusions created by the silver of the oyster shell and water of the mirage. They should be considered as erroneous conceptions and obstacles, and therefore should be removed. In a dream, if innumerable hailstones of gold shower are collected with effort, thinking that they will prove useful in time of need, they disappear on awakening. Knowingly and unknowingly, fate, destiny, passion, hope, desire, or covetousness are always the obstacles. Remember this and uproot them at the outset, that which even sunlight cannot penetrate, and from which the intellect returns defeated, and where the Vedas and Shrutis cannot get a foothold, the Guru leads you to it. Passion and anger, these are two emotions which come in the way of true knowledge. They shatter the power of understanding and concentration and samadhi very skillfully. If a flame and camphor come close together, it is possible for them to push away each other. No sooner than they come together, the camphor starts burning and due to the flame. What is the use of such a person who's continuously walling in the sin and in acts forbidden by the scriptures, even though he is a scholar? Because does not know what is right and what is wrong. Similarly, the person who is always restless, pursued from within, driven crazy by being caught in the clutches of senses, cannot attain wisdom. He who is contented, calm, and constant in his search for his true self, and above all, obedient to his guru, is full of wisdom. Whether he be a householder or a rishi, if he knows his destiny, he should be the master of the chariot of his body. What is the use of a pedant? There is no scope for just blabbering. Only learning is the essence. Oh, you regard your body as a chariot and then sit still in it. In the chariot of one's own body, make your intellect the charioteer and be the master of yourself. Then you can sit at ease on these roads full of obstacles in the form of pleasures of senses. Make the charioteer control the 10 practicing horses of the sense organs by the means of the reins in the form of the mind. If the horses try to run helter skelter, the charioteer will be told the reins to control the horses, and once they are entrusted to him, you can rest at ease. If the charioteer is skillful and expert, the horses will run properly. But if the mind in control of the reins is not independent, there is weakness. Whenever the intellect is accompanied by the sense of discretion, is in a position to guide the chariot, that person has full control over himself. One who can concentrate and whose mind is composed and can reach the supreme state of salvation, and all others tire out on the way. He will not be satisfied whose mind is restless. He has no entry in the realm of the supreme state of salvation, and thus cannot avoid the cycle of birth and death. Such is that supreme state. But when can one find it? When all the doubts of the mind are cleared, it then appears before you on its own. Here, logic, deductions, popular talk, or discussions are of no avail. Only by God's grace you can attain it. All other sciences of learning are futile. This is the marvel in this case, that innocent belief succeeds in knowing it, while logical skills are futile and the logical mind is confused. Those who acquire the perfect wisdom are of a different type, whose thinking and intelligence are of a different kind. Please understand that such a person who has real knowledge is very different, and he is the best person to impart knowledge. How the precious body is wasted. Wealth and pleasures are alike, like the afternoon shadows, short lived. Understand that this is the powerful illusion created by God and surrender at the feet of the saints. Saints are like the vessel on the oceans of the world. You be one of the passengers. Who else is capable of taking you across the yonder shore? Self control and detachment, if combined together, will take him across the worldly ocean without difficulty, even though he may be a dullard like a milestone. The Lord has six divine perfections or attributes. Detachment is the first and foremost. Those who are extremely fortunate, they only obtain it and the others do not. Unless the duties are fixed by the Shastras are performed, the mind cannot be purified. Till the mind is not purified, know that the true knowledge is not possible. Know therefore that only performance of your duty is the root cause for gaining knowledge. Fulfillment of daily duties, occasional duties, and those prescribed by scriptures will cleanse the impurities of your mind. In this way, in that purified mind, self control and detachment takes place, and also control of breath and body, etc., which are the means of procuring that wealth, are at your disposal. Finally, with their help, one can be free of the body while living in it. He who discards the fruit of action and expectations with the help of full concentration of the mind and surrenders to the Guru wholeheartedly, then the Guru accepts him. He who has given up the pleasures of life of the world, who is devoted follower, who has full faith and who has become wise due to the knowledge has he has acquired, even to him there is no other way. Even after that knowledge is obtained, if he does not behave in the right fashion, he will be neither here nor there, neither on heaven nor on earth. He will be suspended in between like a tree shanku. The ignorance of the person is the cause of the very materialistic attitude. When there is knowledge of the self in its true sense, it will lead to the state of detachment towards the material world on its own. A person who is self realized is always devoid of ego. For him, the worldly concepts of right and wrong, pious and omnious, good and bad are of no consequence. In one whose pride of material achievement disappears, detachment takes place immediately, and that in itself is the ultimate state of being. Remember this perfectly well. In the natural course of existence, there are friends and foes, but in the case of detachment, it all seems foolish because when one sees me in all, how can there be friendship or an enmity? In comparison to the supreme happiness, even extreme bodily agony seems insignificant. In such a case, therefore, who can crave for worldly happiness if one has acquired the supreme happiness? Even though the mountains of worldly miseries befall him, he will not be perturbed, even in the least bit, and will be firm like the rock of courage. God gives the gift of detachment to him whom he chooses to bless. Then he couples it with a sense of discrimination and makes him cross the worldly ocean. For the seeker of the self, desirous of beholding his true self as clearly as his reflection in the mirror, there is no other place except their world or heavens. There is no other place for him. If rituals and sacrifices are performed, the deities are pleased and they grant residence after death in the heavens. One may get the self, get the fruits of the action, but one may not obtain the wealth of self knowledge. It is true that after great many austerities, one becomes a Gandharva, but the knowledge of the soul is very obscure. Therefore, those who are desirous of the true knowledge of the soul will opt for a long life on the earth. Here, the mind is purified, the intellect becomes clear like a mirror, and the purest form of knowledge of the self, which is threefold purification mind, intellect, and Atma, is reflected in the other place, which is the heavens. It is possible to get the knowledge of the self, but it is very difficult and it requires tremendous effort to reach it. Illusion entwines you like a serpent and, as it were, completely squeezes the intestines. The illusion also embraces outwardly. Who can be capable of avoiding it? You have been watching us while sitting here. You possess 50 times more money than rupees 5 in your pocket. Take it out now. Let us see. Confusion is in your pocket. When asked to take it out, the gentleman put his hand in his pocket and took out the packet, which consisted of 25 notes of rupees, 10 each, and counted them. The gentleman was ashamed in his heart of hearts and thought to himself, how well Maharaj knows the inner secrets. He puts his head at his feet and anxiously asked for his blessings. Then Baba said at that time, "Now wrap up your fake Brahman. Till your greed is not destroyed, you will never realize Brahman." He whose mind is attached to his family and possessions, sons, farms, animals, etc. How can he achieve Brahman till constant awareness of his wealth is not abandoned? The greed of money is very difficult. It is a deep whirlpool of pain, full of crocodiles in the form of conceit and jealousy. Only a desireless person can swim across these difficult waters. There is unending enmity between avarice and Brahman. How can he attain salvation and practice self denial who has no time for meditation? A covetous man is a fallen man. Where there is greed, there is no peace, no contentment, nor restfulness. All means of achieving Brahman turns into dust when avarice takes place hold of the mind. He who indulges in low, forbidden acts and stoops down to the lowest behavior, unacceptable to the Shrutis and Smritis, and who permanently leading the kind of life can never have equanimity of the mind. Such a man is called whimsical. He is always engaged in wicked deeds, permanently evolving in worldly pleasures, and he never understands what is good or bad. Maybe he has understood the nature of Brahman, but if he is not detached from the fruits of his action, then his knowledge of the Brahman is futile and he is not self realized. If anybody approaches a saint and asks for anything, a saint first judges whether he is worthy of it and then grants him his desire accordingly. One whose mind is enriched day and night, boasting about materialistic achievements and seeking pleasures. For such a person, the preaching of a guru are of no use, for both it is a sheer waste of time. He who tries to penetrate the realm of divine life without the purification of mind, his efforts appear like an exhibition of scholarship. It is all a futile effort. Therefore, one should speak what one understands and one should eat what one can digest. Otherwise, unnecessarily there will be indigestion. Everybody knows this. My treasury is full. I can give anything anyone asks for, but I have to take in account the receiver's capacity. I give to that which one is able to receive only. If you heed all that I have said, you will be benefited. Sitting as I do in the holy masjid, I never utter an untruth. When one takes a dip with full faith in the river of the nectar of worldly words of saints, one is purified both inwardly and outwardly, and all impurities are washed away. Such is the greatness of Sainath, which when I try to describe, there is no end. How can I compare him who is incomparable? He is reached through pure love. He is the mother of all, refuge of all the helpless and fatigued, the support of those dependent on him, as is a tree to a creeper. He also gives a cool shade to those who are poor and helpless. There are many saints who have given up the world. They, they keep silent, living in the mountain caverns in solitude, and only care for their own permanent good. Of what use are such saints who are only interested in their own good or their own spiritual advancement? But Sai Baba was not that kind of a saint. Though he had no relatives, friends, home, wife, or son, he continued to dwell in the world. He accepted negligible quantity of alms from 5 households and lived under a tree day and night. Setting up his scanty possessions, he taught the ways of life. Such great saints are rare in the world who are after attaining self realization and strive for the good of the people. Blessed is that country, blessed that family, blessed are those pious parents, blessed is that holy womb that gave birth to this gem. Without efforts, these Paris was founded but was regarded as mere stone and discarded by many. In Shirdi, this great divinity was not recognized for a long time by anybody. It is like a gem falling in the heap of garbage, which urchins discover, play about which it freely and step on it, assuming it to be a stone. Be it so. In this way, the seeker of Brahman was satisfied after receiving the blessings. It is the same case with all of us. We should give up this hard path as long as we enjoy outer pleasures like listening to sweet music, enjoying a soft touch, sweet fragrance, and pleasing sights. They, there cannot be a control over the senses unless the senses are under control and their very nature changes and turns within. The understanding of the Brahman and experiencing it are impossible. Initially, one should be completely desireless. Then one should surrender totally to a guru. In this way, he who develops firm and full faith deserves the knowledge of the Atman. When the five sense organs, like the ears, etc., abandon their respective pleasures, then the mind will give up doubts and desires. Thus, disregarding the difference and being free internally, the intellect will be relieved of its burden of taking decisions. That itself is the supreme state of the mind, and the unchangeable Brahman is also the same. When the intellect will not need the help of the sense of discretion, the mind will come alive. That is pure consciousness and nothing else. Blessed is that man who can gain it. When the sense organs turn away from worldly pleasures and are introverted, bliss of self is experienced, and everything else will mean unhappiness. It is camouflaged by the sense and passions. It is extremely minute. Thus, this knowledge of the Atman is difficult to perceive. It is the means of supreme happiness. It is very mysterious in nature and unintelligible. He who is unconcerned about the present world and the other world till he reaches the stage of Hiranyagarbha, known as that he alone is emancipated and he only is anointed with Brahman Pada. The mind should be slowly and gradually turned back from the sense objects and should be made to concentrate on the Atman. Knowledge of the Atman will thus be acquired. Disinterested is in the fruits of action in the present world and the outer world over the duality of happiness and unhappiness. Only the intelligent people enjoy the divine experience who can be happy in the tortuous waters of the worldly ocean, engulfed by the flames of the fire of Vardhanal and threefold miseries. Therefore, for the sake of one's own upliftment, one should attain Sai's blessing. Read his stories, listen to it, and meditate upon them. If you listen to the biography of Sainath in the company of wife, son, family, friends, and relatives, you will get the benefit of both the worlds. Baba's Leelas are very unique. Only the fortunate and the faithful listeners are able to listen to these stories. While listening, a feeling of lightness steals through them and leads on an encompassing peace. In the running waters of the stream of the life stories, the salt of actions and non actions will dissolve, and Sai's beautiful image will appear before the eyes through listening. By listening to his life story, sins will be destroyed. By listening to his life story, destiny will be fought. By listening to his life story, supreme happiness will be achieved through effortlessly by the listeners. By listening, the heart will become pure. By listening, the cycle of birth and death will be avoided. By listening, the listeners will achieve Brahman, which can be achieved by performing actions and offering the fruits of the Brahman. Such a person who desires to serve Sai, Sai will make him desirous, and Sai Rama will give rest, peace, and happiness to his own devotees. All listeners, please read, listen, study, or meditate on this book part by part, daily, or learn to recite it. Know thyself perfectly well. That happiness is Brahman, is the famous quotation from the Taittiriya Upanishad. This is transcribed by to the devotees by Baba, who was well versed in the Shrutis. Do not worry in the least. Remain always cheerful. Do not have any anxieties until death. Baba always preached this. This chapter may deal with the explanation about the Brahman, but the implication is that who surrenders to Sai, his ship will be able to cross the worldly ocean. One should give advice for the good of the people and repeatedly should be obliged by all. This motto Baba followed and behaved accordingly. Whether this is right or wrong, these arguments are subjective. In this book, the happiness of common people is stressed upon. This is the purpose behind this book. Baba knows the cause and effect. Just as he knows the people's aspirations, he knows their future. Listen to these stories from the mouth of the Guru. Experiences incomprehensible powers to try to retain and memorize as many stories as possible and tell others. If this beautiful life story of Sai is listened with great respect, the sorrows and difficulties of the narrator and the listeners will be destroyed and will bring to an end the days of suffering of all, experiencing his divine powers. Who cannot be surprised except the unfortunate one? His mere darshan calmed the beholders, making them bow at his feet. Listen with full understanding and implication to the lucid stories of Sai. If such an opportunity of happiness is there, who will miss it? In the stormy waters of hope, there is a whirlpool of son, wife, and friends, crocodiles of passion, rage, etc., and sharks in the form of various diseases. At some time, there is a temporary aversion for hours together. There is a mental conflict and eruption, but the bond cannot be broken. You should teach your own mind that you are yourself the pure Brahman, but you are bound to the body like a parrot, clinging to the bar which goes around rotating. You have been lured away by illusions and temptations. Therefore, you have forgotten your own true self. Be aware and realize your real nature immediately. Delusion creates more delusion, and thus the illusion about bodily pride takes place. Try to understand that the concept of I and mine is like a mirage. Therefore, why don't you become detached? Oh, you think well whether you should get entangled in this notion of I and mine in the worldly existence. Oh, parrot, leave the bar and fly high above in the sky. Where there is liberty, there is bondage, and bondage is accompanied by liberty. Ignoring both these conditions, you should live in the purest spirit within you. This is subjective knowledge. Happiness and misery is total ignorance. Therefore, abandon that knowledge and acquire true knowledge, which is the knowledge of the Brahman, which is within you. As long as there is discrimination between you and me exists, it is not possible to perceive your own good. Give it up and then look at yourself by throwing away selfishness. If a person is as wealthy as Kuber, outwardly leads the life of a mendicant, he is not doing the right thing. It is a hypocritical behavior and it is all due to false knowledge. Regularly listen to the best of the scriptures, follow the advice of the Guru with faith, be always alert and lead a regulated life. Those who follow this principle automatically follow the path leading to salvation. Innumerable beings are thus liberated very naturally. He who constantly thinks day and night as to when he will be free of the bonds of this world will be able to cut off this bond, securing as much solitude as one can, and bearing in mind that the worldly existence is ephemeral, one should always be engaged in studying and understanding the meaning of the Atman. With mind full of devotion and faith, a disciple should completely and humbly surrender. Till such time, the Guru will not give the treasure of knowledge to him. Serve the Guru with your whole being. Think of salvation and bondage. Ponder upon the questions of true knowledge and ignorance, and leave the success only to the Guru. Nobody else but a Guru can tell about the Atman and the Supreme Self. Guru also does not give even a particle of knowledge unless one surrenders completely. If anyone accepting the Guru imparts knowledge, it will not be able to liberate you from the world, neither will it be possible of leading to the fruits of moksha, nor will it ever have full impact on your mind. Therefore, knowledge is not possible to be obtained without a Guru. All the learned men are aware of this. That is, the capable feet of the Guru can solve the mystery of the Brahman and the Atman without any hesitation. Give up your ego and pride. Prostrate yourself, bowing your head down at the feet of the Guru. I am your humblest servant. I have always regarded your feet as my only solace. Utter these words, gather courage, and have faith in Him. Then you should see His miracle. The ocean of mercy in the form of the Guru will be moved and will take you aloft, swaying you lightly on the waves of kindness. He will keep his hand of reassurance on your head, will ward off bad omens, burn up heaps of all sins, and anoint the forehead with udi. This discourse about the meaning of Brahman to the seeker of the Brahman was incidental. He gave the complete essence of knowledge of oneness of Jiva and Shiva to all his devotees. What need could Maharaj have, with his immeasurable wisdom and profound learning, to indulge in humor and cut jokes? Such a doubt may arise, but if you think carefully, there is only one satisfactory explanation. Listen attentively. When you are amongst your children, talking with them, enjoying their lisping prattle, does serious talk ever take place? Is there no love for them? On the contrary, ordinary words will not be able to describe that love, but light talk and humor are skillful ways. Does a child know what is the hidden ailment which is troubling him? The mother only has to give him the necessary medicine and forcefully, if he obstinately refuses it, sometimes by coaxing, sometimes at glaring with angry eyes, at times by beating, and also sometimes with a loving embrace. When the children mature, one likes to dote on them, but the knowledge given to them has to be adjusted in accordance with sharp or dull intelligence. A sharp intellect can grasp quickly, not even a second is needed to understand and assimilate the teachings. In case of a dullard, it is quite different. It takes a lot of efforts for him to understand and retain. Sai Samartha was the store of knowledge. He imparts the wealth of knowledge according to the intelligence of the devotee and first decides about his capability and purity. He was intuitive and at the outset itself, he knew everybody in their entirety. He decided on the right means of teaching and the right kind of discipline in accordance with the capability. Whatever a person deserves, he decides beforehand and works according to his capacity. Baba carries responsibilities of such persons on himself. Similarly, though we look old and respectable before the Siddha Sai, we are all like children, behaving childishly, always keen on enjoying humor. Baba had an abundance of jokes. He leaves his devotees free of worry by offering that knowledge for which the devotee has a worry. A person may be intelligent or a dialogue. If he reads this, he would feel great joy listening to it. He will wish to listen to it more and more. Meditating on it, it will give contentment and bliss. If a person recites it over and over again, its divine meaning will manifest itself. If he tries to meditate on it every day, he will have great pleasure and permanent happiness without obstacles. Such is his unfathomable Leela. Lucky, however, and whoever has had a little experience of this, his body, speech, and mind will become inseparably attached to Baba. Such is his inconceivable Leela. Hemant Pant surrenders at the feet of Sai One way of doing good to a devotee is to impart knowledge by the use of humor. The seeker of Brahman was just an instrument. The next chapter is even more absorbing than this. It will fulfill the wishes of the listeners. The secret desire of my heart was fulfilled with lucid explanation. How I approached Madhav, how I gave him Baba's message, and how I received his blessings. Listen to all that from the beginning to the end. May there be well being. This is the end of the 17th chapter of the Shri Sai Samartha Satcharithra, written by the devotee Hemat Pant, impelled by saints and virtuous people, called the narration of the knowledge of Brahman. This is offered to Shri Satguru Sainath. May there be auspiciousness. Om Sai Ram. Let us now do the Aarti. श्री सच्चिदानंद सद्गुरु साईनाथ महाराज की जय. शिर्डी माझे पंढरपूर साई बाबा रमावर, बाबा रमावर, साई बाबा रमावर, शुद्ध भक्ती चंद्रभागा भाव कुंडली कंजागा, पुंडलिकांजागा भाव पुंडलिकांजागा, याओ याओ अवघे जन करा बाबा श्रीवंदन, साई श्रीवंदन करा बाबा श्रीवंदन, गणोबले बाबा साई पाव पाव माझे आई, पाव माझे आई, पाव पाव माझे आई. अनेलु तांगण वने कचरण तुयासी पाय न रूप तुझे, प्रेमी न रंगीन अनंत पूजिम पवेव माय न बने नमा, त्वमेव माता पिता त्वमेव, त्वमेव बन्धु सदा त्वमेव, त्वमेव विद्या दैरङ्गमेव, त्वमेव सर्वं मम देवदेव. मायेर्न माझ्या पसरणीयर्म उद्याकनावापतन स्वभाव, नरोमि अत्यं सकलन्तरस्मै नारायणाय समर्पयामि. अच्युतं केशवं राम नाम नरेणं कृष्णदामोदरं वासुदेवं हरे, ईधवं माधवं गोपिकावल्लभं जानकी नायकं रामचन्द्रं हरे. हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे. श्री गुरुदेव दत्त सच्चिदानंद सद्गुरु साईनाथ महाराज की जय. Om Sai Ram. I urge all the listeners to read one chapter of the Sai Satcharithra every day and soak in Baba bliss. Baba bless you. Om Sai Ram.